When my 73-year-old neighbor Helen fell in her kitchen, no one found her for 3 days. She survived, but it changed everything about how she and I think about aging alone. The truth is, 27% of Americans over 60 live alone. By age 75, that number jumps to nearly 40%, yet almost no one talks honestly about what this experience is really like, the unexpected challenges, and yes, even the surprising benefits that no one tells you about. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the realities of solo living in your 70s, 80s, and beyond. What I'm about to share isn't taught in retirement planning seminars or discussed in doctors' offices, but it absolutely should be. Whether you're living alone now, anticipate living alone in the future, or care about someone who is, this information could transform how you think about the later chapters of life. Living alone after 70 represents a significant demographic shift in our society. Back in 1960, only about 14% of older adults lived alone. Today, that number has nearly tripled. This trend reflects several factors: longer lifespans, especially for women, higher divorce rates among older adults, geographic mobility that separates families, and a growing desire for independence even in later years. When we do hear about solo aging, the narrative tends to focus on extremes, either the dire warnings about isolation and neglect, or the overly rosy pictures of carefree independence. The reality, as always, lies somewhere in between, with nuances that rarely make it into the public conversation. I've spent the past 5 years interviewing hundreds of solo agers and collecting their stories, insights, and hard-won wisdom. What struck me most was how unprepared many felt for the emotional and practical realities of living alone in later life, even those who had carefully planned their finances and healthcare. As one 82-year-old retired professor told me, "I prepared my portfolio, but I didn't prepare my life. No one told me what I really needed to know." Today, I'll share the 6 crucial truths about living alone after 70 that emerged from these conversations. Truths that can help you or your loved ones navigate this territory more successfully. These insights aren't meant to frighten, but to empower, because understanding the real challenges and opportunities allows for better preparation and adaptation. By the end of this video, you'll have a clearer picture of what solo aging actually entails and specific strategies for thriving, not just surviving, while living independently in your later years. Some of what I'll share may surprise you, and at least one truth directly contradicts the advice many professionals give to older adults. Before we dive into these 6 essential truths, I want to highlight something important. The final truth we'll discuss, truth number 6, is perhaps the most counterintuitive yet powerful insight from all my research. It challenges conventional wisdom about successful aging, but the solo agers who embraced this principle reported the highest life satisfaction in their 80s and beyond. Throughout this video, I'll share not just challenges but practical solutions, specific actions you can take whether you're 55 and planning ahead, or 85 and already navigating solo living. I'll also highlight resources many people don't know exist, including a government program that helps with one of the biggest challenges of living alone after 70, which over 80% of eligible seniors never apply for. Stay with me until the end, because understanding these realities now can dramatically improve quality of life for decades to come. The first truth about living alone after 70 is that maintaining independence requires deliberate, proactive planning far beyond what most people realize. Margaret, a fiercely independent 78-year-old former business owner, told me how she resisted thinking about potential limitations until a minor stroke left her temporarily unable to drive. "I suddenly couldn't get groceries, pick up prescriptions, or visit friends. All the things that made my independent life possible," she explained. "I had no backup systems in place." The experience was a wake-up call that prompted her to create what she calls her independence preservation plan. Here's why this matters. Our culture promotes a binary view of aging. You're either completely independent or completely dependent. This false dichotomy leads many solo agers to avoid planning for gradual changes in abilities, creating vulnerability when challenges inevitably arise. The reality is that independence in later life exists on a spectrum and requires strategic support. Systems research from the AARP Public Policy Institute shows that 61% of adults over 70 who live alone have made no modifications to their homes to accommodate potential mobility changes, and 87% have no emergency response system. Yet these simple preparations can extend independent living by an average of 7 to 10 years. The impact of this planning gap can be severe. Unprepared solo agers often face unnecessary crises that force rushed decisions, leading to more dependency than necessary. Conversely, those who plan strategically can preserve autonomy through life's transitions. Ask yourself, what would happen if you suddenly couldn't drive for 3 months? If you couldn't use stairs? If you needed help for several weeks after a medical procedure? If these scenarios expose gaps in your support system, it's time to strengthen your independence infrastructure. Effective planning includes home modifications before they're needed. Think grab bars, improved lighting, first-floor bedroom options, transportation alternatives beyond driving, a vetted list of service providers, technology that supports independence, and legal documents that ensure your wishes are honored. Remember, accepting strategic support in specific areas isn't surrendering independence. It's preserving it for the long run. As Margaret now says, independence isn't the absence of help. It's having the right help at the right time, on your terms. The second truth about living alone after 70 is that maintaining a robust social network becomes both more crucial and more challenging, requiring intentional effort rather than happening naturally. Charles, a 75-year-old widower, described watching his social circle shrink drastically over 3 years through friends' allocations, illnesses, and deaths. "I woke up one day and realized my phone hadn't rung in a week," he told me. "It hit me that if I wanted connection, I needed to build new relationships, not just wait for the phone to ring." He joined a veterans writing group and a community garden, decisions he credits with saving my life in more ways than one. Here's why this matters. Social isolation isn't just emotionally painful, it's medically dangerous. Research published in JAMA found that isolation and loneliness among older adults are associated with a 29% increased risk of heart disease and a 32% increased risk of stroke. Another study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences found social isolation creates health risks comparable to smoking 15 cigarettes daily. The challenge for solo agers is that traditional social infrastructure often erodes precisely when you need it most. Work relationships end with retirement. Friends move to be near adult children. Family gatherings become more difficult to attend with driving limitations. Adult children have demanding lives of their own. Meanwhile, making new connections becomes more challenging with mobility constraints and the loss of natural social hubs. The impact works both ways. Those who allow their social worlds to contract experience cascading negative effects on both mental and physical health. Conversely, solo agers who actively cultivate diverse connections show remarkable resilience, even through significant life challenges. Ask yourself, if you couldn't leave your home for a month, who would notice? Who would check on you? Is your social network diverse in both ages and contexts, or concentrated in one area of your life? Proactive strategies include joining interest-based groups rather than age-based ones, establishing regular check-in systems with friends, embracing technology for virtual connections, considering shared housing arrangements, and volunteering, which research shows is one of the most effective antidotes to isolation for older adults. As Charles now advises, don't wait until you feel lonely to build connections. By then it's much harder. Tend to your social garden while you still have the energy to plant new seeds. The third truth about living alone after 70 is that home maintenance, both the physical tasks and their coordination, often becomes an unexpected burden that threatens independent living. Barbara, an 83-year-old retired librarian living in her longtime home, described it perfectly. "Nobody tells you that managing a home alone in your 80s is a part-time job. I used to handle minor repairs, yard work, and deep cleaning without thinking about it. Now arranging for these tasks, finding trustworthy help, and managing the constant upkeep consumes enormous energy." Here's why this matters. Housing consumes 30–40% of most older adults' budgets, and maintenance adds significantly to both financial and cognitive load. Research from the Joint Center for Housing Studies at Harvard University found that 70% of adults over 80 living alone struggle with at least one essential home maintenance task, yet 85% want to remain in their current homes indefinitely. This creates a dangerous gap. Necessary maintenance gets deferred, creating safety hazards accelerating home deterioration and eventually threatening the ability to age in place. Simple. So tasks become complicated challenges, changing high light bulbs, keeping walkways clear, managing seasonal maintenance or handling unexpected repairs can become overwhelming when there's no one to share the load. The impact is substantial. Deferred maintenance not only affects property values, but creates safety risks that lead to falls and other accidents. The psychological burden of managing a home's needs can create significant stress and cognitive load, yet with appropriate strategies, solo agers can address these challenges without giving up their homes. Ask yourself, which home maintenance tasks are already becoming difficult? How would you handle an emergency repair? Do you have reliable, vetted help for routine maintenance? Is your home working for you, or are you working for your home? Effective approaches include creating a proactive maintenance schedule rather than reacting to problems, establishing relationships with service providers before emergencies, exploring home warranty programs that simplify repair coordination, considering home sharing arrangements, investigating naturally occurring retirement communities, NORCs, and realistically evaluating whether your current home still serves your needs or depletes resources better used elsewhere. As Barbara eventually concluded, I realized I needed to decide whether keeping my house served my larger goal of independent living or actually worked against it. The answer surprised me. The fourth truth about living alone after 70 is that managing finances independently becomes increasingly complicated, just as cognitive changes may begin to affect financial decision-making. Robert, a 76-year-old retired accountant, shared how his confidence in handling his own finances masked early warning signs of trouble. I started finding unopened bills in odd places. I'd always been meticulous about finances, so I dismissed it as simple disorganization. It wasn't until I discovered I'd paid the same bill 3 times in 1 month that I realized something was wrong. Fortunately, his bank noticed the irregularity and reached out, leading to important interventions. Here's why this matters. Financial management involves multiple cognitive domains: executive function, memory, calculation, and judgment, some of which may show subtle changes even in normal aging. Research from the FINRA Foundation found that financial exploitation costs older Americans over $3 billion annually, with those living alone a highest risk. Yet 71% of adults over 65 handle their finances completely independently, often without safeguards or monitoring systems. The challenge intensifies because financial management actually becomes more complex in later life, not simpler. Medicare decisions, required minimum distributions from retirement accounts, property tax exemption programs, healthcare cost management, and long-term care planning all create new financial tasks, just as cognitive processing may be slowing. The impact of small errors can be devastating. Missing bills can lead to service cutoffs or credit damage. Falling forecomes can deplete savings. Poor investment decisions can't be recovered with limited earning years. Yet those who implement appropriate systems can maintain financial independence much longer. Ask yourself, do you have systems to ensure bills are paid on time? Is someone you trust authorized to discuss concerns with your financial institutions? Have you simplified your financial life to reduce complexity? Are there early warning systems to catch mistakes? Effective strategies include automating recurring bills, consolidating accounts to reduce complexity, establishing a trusted contact with financial institutions, creating a document locator for important financial information, using online tools that allow transparency for trusted helpers, and establishing graduated levels of assistance that can increase if needed while maintaining appropriate control. As Robert now advises, setting up safeguards isn't admitting incompetence, it's insurance. By the time you know you need help, you may not realize you need help. The fifth truth about living alone after 70 is that managing healthcare without a built-in advocate becomes increasingly challenging as systems grow more complex and medical needs typically multiply. Julia, a 79-year-old retired teacher, described her wake-up call. After knee surgery, the hospital was ready to discharge me. When they asked who would be helping at home, I said, no one. They looked shocked, as if they'd never considered someone might not have a spouse or nearby family. They had no protocols for patients like me. This experience led her to develop what she calls her health team of friends, paid help, and professionals. Here's why this matters. Our healthcare system is largely designed with the assumption that older patients have family advocates. Studies show that patients with advocates receive better care, experience fewer medical errors, and have shorter hospital stays. Yet 40% of adults over 65 who live alone report attending medical appointments without any companion, missing this layer of protection. The challenges multiply as medical care becomes more fragmented. The average 75-year-old sees between 4 to 6 specialists alongside their primary care provider, takes 4 to 5 prescription medications, and must coordinate information across these providers while managing increasingly complex guidance. Doing this alone, especially when not feeling well, creates significant risk for errors and omissions. The impact is measurable. Solo agers experience 30% more adverse medication reactions, 24% longer hospital stays, and higher rates of readmission compared to those with consistent advocates. Yet with proper systems, these risks can be substantially reduced. Ask yourself, who would speak for you if you were temporarily incapacitated? Who knows your medication list and medical history? Who would notice if you received conflicting medical instructions? How would you manage recovery from a significant procedure? Effective strategies include creating a formal or informal care committee of friends committed to helping during medical situations, hiring patient advocates or geriatric care managers when needed, maintaining an updated medical information binder for emergency situations, investigating hospital-to-home transition programs covered by Medicare, using digital tools to track medications and appointments, and exploring community programs specifically designed for solo agers. As Julia now says, I realized I needed to create the support structure that others get automatically through family. Once I stopped seeing this as bothering people and started viewing it as smart planning, everything changed. The sixth and perhaps most important truth about living alone after 70 is that having compelling reasons to get up each morning, purposes beyond your own comfort and entertainment, becomes vital to both psychological and physical health. William, an 87-year-old who has lived alone for 22 years since his wife's death, told me, "For the first year alone, I just existed. Then I realized no one was coming to rescue me from my loneliness." The turning point was volunteering at the literacy center. Teaching adults to read gave me something I had to show up for. Those students saved my life by needing me. Here's why this matters. Mounting research shows purpose and meaning aren't just nice psychological concepts but powerful determinants of health outcomes. A landmark study in JAMA Network Open found that adults over 65 with high purpose scores showed approximately 36% reduced risk of mortality compared to those with low purpose scores, a stronger effect than many medical interventions. This becomes especially crucial for solo agers who don't have built-in roles as spouses, caregivers, or regular family participants. Without intentional purpose-seeking, many drift into passive consumption of time, watching TV, scrolling devices, or engaging in low-meaning activities that fill hours but don't nourish well-being. The impact is profound in both directions. Agers without purpose show accelerated functional decline, higher rates of depression, more rapid cognitive changes, and greater vulnerability to isolation. Conversely, those who maintain strong purpose often show remarkable resilience and vitality well into their 90s. Ask yourself, what gets you out of bed with anticipation rather than obligation? Who or what still needs your unique contributions? What activities give you a sense of being fully alive rather than simply passing time? Effective approaches include volunteering in roles that utilize your skills and experience, mentoring younger generations, engaging in creative pursuits that challenge and absorb you, participating in faith communities or philosophical groups that provide meaning frameworks, advocating for causes you believe in, and cultivating opportunities to care for others, even in small ways. As William reflected, the great paradox I've discovered is that to age well alone, you can't focus on yourself. You have to matter to something or someone beyond yourself. That's what pulls you forward when no one else is there to do it. As we've explored these 6 truths about living alone after 70, the need for intentional planning to preserve independence, the crucial importance of actively cultivating social connections, the challenges of home maintenance, the complexities of managing finances, the demands of healthcare navigation without built-in advocates, and the vital role of purpose and meaning. A common thread emerges. Living well alone in later decades requires shifting from passive aging to active design of your life circumstances. It means acknowledging both the challenges and freedoms of solo aging with clear eyes rather than denial or fear. The solo agers who thrive into their 80s and beyond aren't those with the most money or the best genetics, but those who create robust systems, nurture diverse connections, simplify what needs simplifying, ask for help without shame, and maintain a strong sense of purpose. The good news from my research is that with appropriate awareness and planning, living alone after 70 can be a period of unexpected growth, deep connection, and genuine autonomy. The challenges are real, but they're not insurmountable. Whether you're currently living alone or anticipating this stage in the future, I hope these truths serve not as warnings, but as invitations to design your later years with intention, creativity, and hope. After all, as many sologers told me, once you know what you're really facing, you can face it much better. If you found value in these insights, please consider sharing this video with someone who might benefit. Perhaps a friend living alone, an adult child concerned about an aging parent, or someone planning for their own future. In the comments below, I'd love to hear your experiences with solo aging, whether personal or observed, and any strategies you found helpful. Your insights might be exactly what another viewer needs to hear. Don't forget to download our free solo aging resource guide using the link in the description. It contains contact information for helpful organizations, a planning checklist, and conversation starters for discussing these issues with friends or family. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to receive our upcoming video on creating a care committee when you don't have family nearby. Thank you for your attention to this important topic. Remember, it's never too early or too late to prepare for living your best life at every age.